Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Muriel and in this video I'm going to do a book haul. The first one of the year because I hadn't bought any physical books up until now. So it's going to be a pretty big one too. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to go through the books I bought that I've already read, and I bought them because I read them and loved them. Then I'll go through some novels I haven't yet read, then the non-fiction, and then two other books. You'll see what those are in a minute. So starting with the books I've already read, we have Iron Council, written by China Miéville. It's the third book in his new Crobuzon/Baslag trilogy. I actually already had physical copies of this trilogy. They were mass market paperbacks, but I wanted copies in this collection, basically the Pan Macmillan editions, because they have colored spines and they all have these similar designs on them that I really like. I'd already bought copies for Perdido Street Station and The Scar, but I was still missing Iron Council, so I remedied that. And then I bought copies of three books that I read this year that I loved. There's The Magicians, written by Lev Grossman, of course, and I think it's a really pretty edition, except for this little freaking permanent stickers. Why do publishers do this? I hate it. There's Normal People, written by Sally Rooney, and then there's Elder Race, written by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I've thoroughly enjoyed / loved all of those three novels that I've read this year. This is in fact a new favorite. I mean, I gave it a 10 out of 10. Normal People, I gave an 8.5 out of 10. Same for The Magicians, so yes, I obviously needed to have physical copies of those books in my specially curated personal library. So now for some books I haven't yet read. I decided, I guess, to take a gamble on them. Well, a few of them aren't really a gamble because they're by my favorite authors. A couple of them are sort of a gamble because now I've really, taken to reading books in ebook format on my Kindle. But yes, calculated risk with some of these. I'm not certain I will read all of them this year, actually. They might stay on my TBR shelf until next year. We'll see. So first, there's the Gormenghast trilogy, written by Mervyn Peake. I did mention this in my recent Maybe TBR video. I've gotten some positive feedback about the Gormenghast trilogy. I've read additional things about it and about the author, so yes, I'm definitely going to read this. I feel more confident now that I will probably actually enjoy this, and, well, I have an omnibus edition in the Vintage Classics, Vintage Classics collection, which I do like. I do have these publication collections that I like. There's Penguin Classics, Penguin Modern Classics, there's Vintage Classics, there's of course the SF Masterworks, so I do like having editions in those. Publication collections is what I'm going to call it. So yes, the Gormenghast trilogy, maybe not this year, but I'll definitely get around to it next year if I don't read it this year. Speaking of the SF Masterworks line, I got this, a Doomsday book written by Connie Willis. So this is an entry in the SF Masterworks that was written by a female author, and I do tend to gravitate towards those. I semi-collect them. I mean, I semi-collect the SF Masterworks, but I try to prioritize female science fiction authors and female fantasy authors for the fantasy masterworks. It doesn't seem like they're actually adding anything anymore to that collection, which is a shame. So this one I decided to go ahead and buy because my godfather, of all people, said that this was one of his favorite novels, and it is science fiction. I think Rachel from Kalanadi has also read this. Calculated risk. There's a high chance that I will enjoy this, though I don't really know what it's about, but another entry in my SF Masterworks collection, so, there's that. And then three books by my three favorite authors of all time. We have Hummingbird Salamander, written by Jeff VanderMeer. So this is a recent release, and I just absolutely love this cover. It's in a collection of Jeff VanderMeer works that was recently released. They republished the Amber Grisian novels in this format. I have one of them, and I was semi-tempted to get the other two, but then can I really justify that purchase? Anyway, so I have this one, have Finch in the same collection, but this one in particular, I don't know, I really love the aesthetics of this one. We'll see what the story is like. I was disappointed Blinded by Dead Astronauts, which was released a couple of years ago, so hopefully this one will work better for me, but in any case, pretty cover, am I right? Then I got this Orsinia by Ursula K. LeGuin, because Ursula K. LeGuin, it's the only part of her fiction writing that I haven't read. As far as I understand, this is not science fiction, it's not quite fancy, it's alternative historical fiction, a country in the east of Europe. Beyond that, I don't really know what this is about, but I mean, I plan on making a reference video about Ursula K. Le Guin's fiction bibliography, so I should probably read this as well so I can add it in. So I will try and squeeze this on my 2022 TBR, but I can't guarantee it either. And then we have 3 Moments of an Explosion, written by China Miéville. This is a short story anthology that I haven't yet read, and it's by China Miéville, my third favorite author, so there's a high likelihood that I will enjoy this collection, or at least enjoy a fair number of the short stories in here. And as you can see, this is an old library copy. I often buy books secondhand, I really don't mind, and well, this one has a nice plastic sleeve around it to protect it, so yay for me, I guess. And again, it's in the Pan Macmillan's collection of China Miéville's works, and has a pretty violet spine. Iron Council also has kind of like a purple-violet spine, my favorite color, so again, yay for me. Then we have the non-fiction, and you're going to see a running theme here. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's witches. My ex David had a thing for witches, witchcraft, the occult, etc. Now that I think about it, it was one of his special interests, really, and it reconnected with my own interest in witches, the occult, and my self-identification as a witch, if you will. So yes, I bought a few books in relation to that concept, though in different ways. So first we have The Witch, written by historian Ronald Hutton. I have read a book by Ronald Hutton before. It was The Triumph of the Moon, which is a non-fiction book about the history of neo-paganism in Great Britain. And so this one is a history of witchcraft, past and present, around the world. I mean, he's a scholar, and I trust in his scholarship, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. I'm sure it will be very, very interesting. Then we have Caliban and the Witch, written by Silvia Federici, I'm assuming she was Italian. So this is a classic of feminist theoretical literature that I've never read, but I've heard a lot about over the years. I've heard good things about. I've also seen that there are limitations to the analysis, and there's some mistakes made about the historical context, but still the analysis itself, the thesis in the book, is valuable and worthwhile to get acquainted with. So yeah, I decided to go ahead that, I would read this one, and I do have a semi-solid plan to go through a series of classic feminist texts, but I'm going to take my sweet time going about it. That being said, I'm very happy to see that Penguin Modern Classics has decided to publish a bunch of these, because I do like the Penguin Modern Classics line. So yes, a nice edition of Caliban and the Witch, which I'm going to read this year. Actually, all the non-fiction books are planned on my 2022 TBR, or at least most of them. Then we have Literary Witches, written by Kaisia Kitaiskaia and illustrated by Katy Horan. So this is a non-fiction illustrated book about female authors, female writers, a selection of them. I think there's Mary Shelley in there, there's probably Virginia Woolf, I think Toni Morrison is in there as well. Just a selection, and I was interested because of the title, Literary Witches, and because the illustrations look really, really pretty, so I'll be happy to show some of them when I talk about this in a reading wrap-up. Rounding out the witchcraft-related quartet, we have Witches and Pagans, written by Max Dashu? Not sure if that's how you pronounce her name. So, this is also non-fiction about, women in European folk religion, circa 700 to 1100 AD. So I'm guessing this is going to be about the survival of pagan traditions, pagan symbolism and imagery in the Dark Ages, basically, in Europe, and the relationship to, witchcraft, etc. I mostly bought this because of the author. I've heard about Max Dashu as a scholar, a feminist scholar, throughout the years. I've always heard really good things about her. She's not, I don't really see her books promoted that much, but I've just heard of her scholarship, and it always sounded like something I would thoroughly enjoy. So I finally went ahead and bought something written by her, so I'm hoping I'm going to enjoy this, like I said. And then finally, we have Gender Critical Feminism, written by Holly Lawford-Smith, or Professor Holly Lawford-Smith. She's an Australian feminist scholar, professor. So, I mean, it's in the title. This is a book about gender critical feminism. It's a theoretical analysis and treatise of this specific current within feminism and, you know, the current goings on with that and, you know, the trans movement, etc., etc. Very contentious topic that I touched upon in the past in some of my reading wrap-ups because I've already read Material Girls, written by Professor Kathleen Stock, and Trans When Reality, or When Ideology Meets Reality, written by journalist Helen Joyce, which were both excellent. But this, I assume, is going to be a little more academic in nature, in tone, because it is published by Oxford University Press. Also, funny anecdote about this, Oxford University Press actually received a letter asking for the publication to be cancelled. And they read the letter and they basically said, sod off. And I was like, good on you, Oxford University Press, for not giving in to academic censure. Also, again, very random. I don't know what it is about this book. I guess it's the paper density, but it just feels really good to hold and manipulate. It's really a nice weight for a book. Anyway. And the last two. So first, there's this, A Clash of Kings, the graphic novel, volume 3. I've been reading these ever since they came out. It's a way to get an illustrated version of A Song of Ice and Fire, especially given what happened with the HBO show, am I right? And I really enjoy these. I think the quality of the illustrations is excellent, and it's a very faithful graphic novel adaptation. So they've done a Game of Thrones, they're going through a Clash of Kings. I was waiting for volume 3, and once I read this, I'll be waiting for volume 4, and I really hope they're going to do all the currently published books in A Song of Ice and Fire. So, yes. And then we have this bitch, House of Leaves, written by Mark Z. Danielewski. I don't think I really need to introduce this book. This is a horror meta literature classic that is very weird. And I mean meta in the deepest sense possible because, this is the inside of the book. Like this shit. So this is going to be a challenge to read. Basically, I thought I would never read this, but my childhood friend is interested in reading it as well, though he'll be reading it in French. So I was like, oh, well, maybe we could buddy read it and take our sweet time doing so because it's a chonker. It's going to be difficult to read, like physically difficult to read. And he's a med student, so he has precious little time to indulge in hobbies. So yes, but this will be read at some point. Slowly, but surely, and I will definitely report back about this, because I'm just very curious. I've watched video essays about it, but I'm sure the experience of reading it is just, well, something you have to experience for yourself, really. So that's it for my book haul. Technically speaking, I also have 2 Folio Society editions I haven't unboxed yet, because I'm keeping that for a self-treat. I'm the queen of delayed gratification, just never mind, which I'll definitely show in another video at some point. So yes, first book haul of the year, a nice meaty one too. I probably will have a second one towards the end of the year, but I'm very happy with all of these. Looking forward to reading all the ones I haven't yet read, and very happy with those I've already read and loved. So on that note, if you want to share your thoughts about any of these books in the comments down below, please feel free to do so. But in the meantime, I wish you all a lovely day, evening, or whichever time of day you prefer. Do take good care of yourselves. Thank you for the continued support, and I shall see you all reasonably soon in another video. Bye-bye.